West Side Story, the musical. By Philip Shea. From the first note to the last breath, West Side Story is one of the most memorable musicals and the greatest love stories ever. Leonard Bernstein's music and Stephen Sondheim's lyrics are recognized as the most outstanding works of all time. The greatest love story in the world takes to the streets in this landmark Broadway musical. This is one of the most outstanding achievements of the theater. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet was transformed into two young, in modern New York City. Idealistic lovers find themselves caught in fighting street gangs between the American Jet Gang and the Puerto Rican Shark Gang. They fight to survive in a world full of hatred. Violence and prejudice are one of the most innovative methods. Story. The leader of the Jets, Riff, vowed to drive the Sharks, headed by Bernardo, from the street. Riff decided to challenge Bernardo at a dance in the gym that night and asked his old friend and the Jets co-founder Tony to help him. Tony left the gang and gradually felt agitated by other emotions, but agreed. Bernardo's younger sister Maria is just coming from Puerto Rico and is going to marry his friend Chino. She took part in the dance. Despite the obvious hatred between the gangsters, Tony immediately fell in love with her. Later, after dancing, when the gang began to gather in Doc's drugstore, they chose the location and weapons for their fighting. At the drugstore, the Jets were nervous about the upcoming meeting with the Sharks, but Riff suggested that they play it cool. When the Sharks arrived, they reached an agreement with Tony's insistence to have a fair, bare-handed fight between the two best fighters in each gang the next night, under the highway. The next day, Tony visited Maria in the bridal shop, and they held a touching wedding in the costume dummy. Maria asked him to promise to stop the fight between the gang and his brother. In the quintet tonight, Tony and Maria sang their love. Anita made a plan for an important night. Bernardo and Riff and their gang made their own plans. In a deserted area under the highway, the gangs met and fought. As it was about to happen, Tony hurried in, begging them to stop, just as he promised Maria. Bernardo is upset that has been pursuing his sister, and he is furious. Suddenly jackknives appeared, and Riff and Bernardo started fighting. In the following action, Riff was stabbed and Tony grabbed his weapon and stabbed Bernardo. The gang fought frantically until they were interrupted by the siren. They ran away, leaving the remains of Riff and Bernardo. At the beginning of Act 2, Maria was happily preparing to meet Tony in her room. She didn't know what happened until Chino suddenly broke into her room and told her her brother has been killed by her lover. Tony had climbed the escape and reached Maria's room. Despite the sadness, she could not send him away. They hugged each other desperately, imagining a place free from prejudice. Sad Anita knocked on Maria's door, and Tony left the window and hid in the basement of Doc's drugstore. But Maria's answer carries indisputable power. Anita finally agreed to warn Tony that Chino is going to shoot him. She went to the drugstore, but was cruelly mocked by the Jet Gang because of her race. Finally, while in hysterics, she left a message to Tony. Chino has killed Maria in revenge. Doc told Tony that he heard what Anita said, and then Tony left his hiding place and wandered numbly on the street. At midnight, he met Maria, who had been looking for him, but their moment was short. Chino emerged from behind a building and shot Tony to death. Analysis of songs. Maria. When Tony saw Maria, fell in love with her immediately, and sang this song when he returned to his own residence. This song is widely known for its use of tritone in the main melody. This is an example of using Lydian mode, which is the same as the major, except that the fourth degree is raised, giving the tritone characteristic of this piece.
Maria, the most beautiful sound I ever heard. All the beautiful sounds of the world in a single word. Just met a girl named Maria, and suddenly that name will never be the same to me. Maria, I've just kissed a girl named Maria, and suddenly I found how wonderful a sound can be. Maria, say it loud and there's music playing. Say it soft and it's almost like praying. Maria, I'll never stop saying Maria. Like praying, Maria, I'll never stop saying Maria. The most beautiful sound I ever heard.
America. Anita and two homesick Puerto Rican girls have a joking argument between the merits of life in their hometown and Manhattan. Alternating use of 6/8 time and 3/4 time is the distinctive feature of this song. This rhythm is called Himiala and Habanera, but it is not actually the case. The two bars alternate and do not overlap like Himiala.